Hello there. Welcome to our channel, Accounting Space. In this video, I want to look at grade 11 geography. Let's subscribe to our channel, Accounting Space. Let's share the link to our colleagues who are doing grade 11 geography so that we get notified of new videos. In this video, we want to look at typical examination questions that are relating to a fair trade. So we are going to start by understanding what we mean exactly by fair trade, and we are also going to understand what we mean by a free trade. So going on to understand what is fair trade, we see that a fair trade is a term that is used to describe the arrangement designed to help producers in developing countries achieve sustainable and equitable trade relationships. So this is a scenario that we have that is an arrangement that is designed to help producers in developing countries achieve a sustainable and equitable trade relationships. So you are going to see that this is a way of buying and selling products that makes certain that the people who produce the goods receive a fair price. So the issue of the people that are producing the product so that they receive a fair price on the product that they are producing is the essence behind our fair trade. So at the end of the day, the idea behind fair trade is the reduction of poverty in developing countries. So fair trade believes the best way to eliminate poverty is to pay farmers a fair price for their produce, and also they also focus on workers. That is, workers are paid a fair wage for their labor. So this is what we have in terms of fair trade, and also it goes on also fair trade to improve access to agricultural services like organic training. So the issue of training also comes in terms of fair trade. As a result, they do that so that there is an incentive for farmers in developing countries to farm better. So this is the explanation that we have on fair trade. But obviously, we would also want to understand what we mean by our free trade. So free trade now, I would say that this is an agreement between two or more nations to reduce or remove barriers to import and export among them. So under free trade, there is a policy that removes or reduces trade restrictions that exist between nations. So these trade barriers can be tariff barriers, or they can be non-tariff barriers. So the relationship that exists there between free trade and fair trade, we are going to see that there is a similarity that exists there. That is, there is the issue of reduction and the elimination of trade restrictions. But you are going to see that fair trade now goes a step further. Fair trade goes a step further by promoting better working conditions for workers and developing nations, and also on the issue of giving or buying products of farmers in developing countries on fair prices. So this becomes a step further that exists now in a fair trade that is not there in free trade. So we are also going to see that in fair trade, there is the issue of environmental sustainability, promotion of environmental sustainability for farmers and workers in developing countries by buying the products of their producers on a premium price. So that is what we have all the explanations of fair trade and free trade. So we can just try to go our question part. So the first question that we have reads, define the term fair trade, and it has got 1 mark. So the definition that we have here is that this is a trade between companies in developed countries and producers in developing countries in which fair prices are paid to the producers. So this is basically the definition that we just trying to explain earlier, that the issue of fair prices is behind um, uh, fair trade. So this is the definition that we have. Then we go to the next part, which is 1.2. The question says, name one way in which fair trade benefits farmers in developing countries. So how do farmers in developing countries now benefit from fair trade? We are saying the main focus is on trying to resuscitate or help farmers that are in developing countries. So how do they benefit now, these farmers? It's a fair trade offers better prices. We are seeing that the prices that are being offered to these farmers are better prices, so that becomes a benefit. So the second one is that it improves terms of trade. So maybe we can start by understanding what exactly do we mean by our terms of trade. So the terms of trade basically, this is the ratio of export prices to import prices, or we can rather say the purchasing power of exports relative to imports. So when it's a favorable terms of trade, is the one that you are trying to say there, that it improves terms of trade, it will be a favorable position of terms of trade. So when it's a favorable terms of trade, the price of exports is a bit higher to the price of imports. At the end of the day, we are saying imports will be relatively less expensive. So we are saying the export prices will be higher. Since we are saying from a developing country point of view, the export of their products in the form of the produce of farmers is going to be bought using higher prices. So we're going to see that the export of those developing countries will be having higher prices than the import. So that's a favorable terms of trade. So the last point is that as a benefit, acquire business skills necessary to produce high quality products. We're talking about trading, and that is there in fair trade. So from that trade, you are going to see that the producers in developing countries are going to acquire skills to produce high quality products. So moving on to the next question. So the next question, next question reads, explain how fair trade can help consumers reduce poverty. The question also has 2 marks. It requires you to raise 1 point. How does a fair trade help consumers reduce poverty? We're talking about poverty reduction being behind the essence of fair trade. So how is that poverty reduced now? The first point is saying through common agreements, companies keep prices of products low, and therefore the consumers save money. So we are talking about also reduction of prices that is existing in the process of fair trade. So when we are talking about this reduction of prices, we're going to see that customers are going to buy these products at a lesser price. So obviously, they are going to be left with more money to spend on other expenses, their daily expenses. So in that sense, we are saying the poverty is being reduced. Or basically, we are saying the cost of living of the people in the developing countries is going to be reduced. So on another point that we can raise in terms of how fair trade can help consumers reduce poverty, because farmers are not exploited in fair trade, they tend to keep the prices of their products low. So the issue of exploitation of farmers is not there in free trade. That's one of the essence behind fair trade, that we are eliminating exploitation of farmers or producers in developing countries. So with that now, that at the end of the day is going to be a positive to consumers in the developing countries. So we go to 1.4. 1.4 is discuss 2 similarities between fair trade and free trade. So we are talking about also similarities that exist between free trade and fair trade. Remember, we are talking about the issue of protectionism. That is the issue of barriers on the borders that affects our exports and imports. There, we are going to see that both in free trade and fair trade, there is no protectionism. There is removal of those barriers. It might be reduction or removal, but the issue is that protectionism is not being being practiced. So it all exists both in fair trade and free trade. So this becomes one of the similarities. The second similarity is that both promote competition, which decrease prices for the consumer. So we are saying the issue of removal of these trade barriers, we are going to see easy movement of products and services between nations. So we are going to see that local producers are going to face foreign competition as products of foreign countries are going to come to the domestic economy, and they are going to compete with the locally produced goods. So competition is going to be increased. So the increase in competition also will lead to decrease in prices. So obviously, when there's more competition, there's more supply, and when there's more supply in the economy, prices will go down. These are just the elements of the law of supply. So we go to the last point, both improve relationship between countries. So the issue that there is an arrangement that exists between nations in fair trade and free trade, it means these countries have to be in good books. So the interaction between nations is enhanced, and relationships also become stronger and stronger between nations. So this becomes one of the similarities that we have between free trade and fair trade. So going on to the last question. So last question is 1.5 reads, to be certified as fair trade, producers need to maintain good environmental protection when developing sustainable agriculture, provide criteria that producers need to maintain to uphold environmental standards in fair trade. So this question requires us to raise 4 points, each one with 2 marks, with a total of 8 marks. So we are going to come up with the criteria that producers need to maintain to uphold environmental standards in fair trade. So what should we take into consideration as producers to our environment that we are operating in? We are operating in an economy, and what should we take into consideration? So the first point is saying protection of water resources and natural vegetation areas. So the water resources in the nations also has to be respected. That's the essence behind that point. And also the vegetation which surrounds us in the economy that we are operating as producers, we should also take note and preserve that. So that's the first point that we have. The second point is saying promoting agricultural diversification. Agricultural diversification is just producing producing different, doing different forms of agriculture. For example, you are doing agronomy, you do livestock, and etc. So horticulture. So that is diversification. Do not only concentrate on one method of agriculture. Maybe you are concentrating on agronomy only. So diversification, you are widening your options in the production processes. In particular, you're talking about the agriculture sector. So promoting agricultural diversification, erosion control, and restricting the use of pest acids and fertilizers. So this is the second point that we have. Then the other point, which is number 3, banning the use of genetically modified organisms. So the use of genetically modified organisms. So obviously, the point is saying we should ban them. Why should we ban them? Is the question. We know that there are negatives that we can deduce from the use of genetically modified organisms. The issue of toxic reactions when they are consumed, products which are GMOs can have toxic reactions to human beings, which is a very dangerous thing in our economy. So they have to be banned. So and also the issue of allergies. So this is what we have on point number 4, point number 3. So we move on to the last point, which is say requiring proper management of waste, water, and energy. So these are the 4 points that we can use as a criteria that producers need to maintain to uphold environmental standards in fair trade. So this is what we've, guys, according to this video. Let's stay tuned for more typical examination questions that are going to come that might assist us in the upcoming exam. Let's subscribe and share. Let's share the link to our colleagues who are doing grade 11 geography. As for this video, I'm signing out. Let's meet again in the next video.